to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And what a crazy, chaotic night at Subaru Park as the Philadelphia Union finally pick up their first win since May 18th by defeating New England Revolution by a score of 5-1. And funny enough, the Union's last win came against New England at Gillette Stadium in a 3-0 victory. Union pick up only their second win at Subaru Park on the year, which is so funny that we sit on July 18th and the Union have more wins on the road, 3, compared to 2 wins at Subaru Park. And who would have thought? Definitely not me. But the Union pick up a much needed win on Wednesday night against New England Revolution. And so we'll go ahead and talk about that game. I do feel bad for Tai Baribo, scores a hat trick on the night, but of course the night gets overshadowed by Cavan Sullivan making his MLS debut. We'll talk about that for sure. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to Subaru Park last night, which felt a little bit weird watching the game from home, not being in the stadium. It's my first home game missed since 2022 when I had COVID, and so I had to miss the Houston Dynamo game. So it's a little bit weird watching the game from home, but got to listen to Dave Leno and Sebastian Letou on the radio call, watching Apple TV, and that was fantastic, listening to Dave Leno. I've heard his highlights, but it's been a while since I've listened to Dave call a full game, and Dave is fantastic. And all you people who don't get the chance to go out to Subaru Park, hopefully you guys take advantage of that option on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, where you can put on the home team's radio broadcast. And Dave does such a fantastic job, and the Union are very, very lucky to have Dave Leno still around calling games. One of the best, and his calls are fantastic. And I know you guys know how fortunate the Union are to have him. So it was good. Bad night not being able to go to Subaru Park because was at work too late, and by the time I would have got up to the stadium, it probably would have been 7:30. I know there was the threat of thunderstorms, and I said, with working outside all day, it was probably best just to go home and enjoy the air condition. So that's what I did. But we also got late breaking news by Tom Bogert last night, and because of that, it's worth bringing up on the podcast. So let's go ahead and talk about the latest news in MLS. We'll go ahead and talk about the game, 3 stars, and that's pretty much it. So without further ado, let's get straight into the news. All right, so the latest news in MLS does indeed involve the Philadelphia Union, and they have acquired St. Louis FC for Sam Adeniran, who has played 137 appearances, 48 career goals. He's 25 years old, a U.S.-born player, so he does not take up an international roster spot. He's played in a lot of places, looking at his career. He's played in the Spanish 4th tier. He's played in the German 5th tier, the German 4th tier. He's played in USL. He's played for Seattle Sounders. He's obviously played for St. Louis. And so the Union can go ahead and send $150,000 in 2024 GAM. St. Louis can also receive an additional $300,000 in GAM, $200,000 in 2025, and $100,000 in 2026 if certain performance incentives are met. Adeniran is 25 years old. This is the last season on his contract, which means he's able to talk to clubs right now. He can leave on a free in the wintertime. There was a report by Manuel Veth back in March that said Norwegian top side Mold had offered $1 million. St. Louis turned that offer down. And then 2 days ago, Manuel reported that Lask, who play in the Bundesliga in Austria, are still in talks with Adeniran. And people might be saying, well, then why would the Union trade for him? Why would they take on a player that could leave on a free? Well, this isn't bad business because funny money is not real money. GAM. That's what funny money is. And so it does you no good in the rest of the world. It's only good within MLS. And so it doesn't do you any good if you're just holding on to this, just stacking onto it. The Union had a lot with trades from Matt Freese, with Andres Pereira. And that's the bad thing about MLS, right? They're not transparent in telling you how much how much TAMs teams have a year. And so you look at the trades or the sales, I should say, for both Aronson brothers. The Union got a ton of GAM for that. And we're not quite sure how much the Union had, but they had it to spend. And they use it to bring in Sam Adeniran from St. Louis City. He's played 19 games this season for St. Louis. 6 of those are starts. Scored 2 goals, playing 749 minutes. And there was reports back in April that Bradley Cornell, the former manager of St. Louis, was displeased with Adeniran's work rate, eventually leading to the forward training on his own and missing 2 games against Austin FC and Sporting Kansas City. And this was the quote from Bradley Cornell. Right now, we're focused on the guys who bring a certain standard, intensity, work ethic in training, and those players will get rewarded. Sam, until further notice, will be training on his own. And so Bradley Cornell gets fired by St. Louis City just because of the rough season that St. Louis has been having. And so once that happened, Adeniran came back into the squad and has played 10 games since. But like I said, Manuel Veth is reporting 2 days ago that LASK are still interested in Adeniran. They're still in talks with him, but he'll be a Union player through the rest of the season, making $93,000 in guaranteed composition, which isn't a ton of money. And so you got to imagine whatever team he ends up going to next. Maybe he resigns with Union. You don't know. He's definitely going to be getting paid more than $93,000. And if he's a player that's set on going to Europe, then so be it. I mean, like I said, this is funny money. This is not costing the Union anything. It's a good deal for the Union. He's a proven goal scorer in the USL Championship, which I know is a lot different than MLS. Oliver Zemler would definitely tell you that. It's had a rough season with the Union, but the Union have needed a third striker. They have Chris Donovan obviously on the bench, but he's not an MLS player. Adeniran is going to give you height. He's going to give you physicality. He's going to give you pace. And I look at him being the perfect replacement for Corey Burke, which Corey Burke's a fine player coming off the bench, being a spot starter, relying on him to score and to start week in, week out. Yeah, you're asking for trouble. And so I don't think the Union are asking for Adeniran to do anything different here. They're not asking him to come in here and save this club, because the Union is scoring plenty of goals. You saw it last night, 5 goals against New England. Again, we'll get to that here in a second. But one thing I want to point out is the Union, there's been rumors out there that the Union are in conversations to still bring in 2 more players, but I don't know how many people are aware of this. The Union currently have 1 open international roster slot available. Currently, Tai Baribo, Jesus Bueno, Alawatu Makanya, Sanders Ngabo, Richard Odada, Oliver Zemler are taking up international roster spots. Joaquin Torres, who's currently out on loan, opens up an extra slot. And then the Union traded an international roster spot this season to Nashville, moving them down to 7. And so they have 1 current spot open. And I'd be shocked if the Union were able to get one of these guys a green card this season. Typically, we've seen the Union have that stuff happen at the beginning of the seasons. And so the player on this list that's most likely to get a green card next is Oliver Zemler, just because he's been in America for a while, going to college here, playing the USL Championship. But the Union, if they do indeed bring in 2 more players, like there are rumors out there, one of those players are going to be an international player potentially, because you have the space. But if you bring in a second international, then you've got to move one of these guys, whether you trade them, whether you sell them, whether you cut them, because MLS clubs do have 1 buyout. There were reports that there was going to be 2 buyouts this summer. MLS has decided against that. And so it's going to stick with the original rules of 1 buyout. Could Richard Odata be a potential buyout player? I do think it's potential. His contract runs out at the end of the season, but he does have 2 option years for 2025 and 2026. You also have a player like Joaquin Torres, whose contract's up after the season. He has an option for the 2025 season. The Union aren't going to use a buyout on Joaquin Torres when you already get roster relief because he's out on loan right now. But the other issue is with the Union is you get 30 roster spots, and the Union's roster is maxed out at 30 players. And so for the Union to come in here and to make any more deals, players are going to have to get loaned out. They're going to have to get sold, traded, or you're going to have to use that buyout on somebody. And I think the 2 players that make the most sense for a buyout would be Richard Odata and Holden Trent, because there's no reasons why you have 4 goalkeepers on the roster. There's no need to have 4 goalkeepers. And so with Andre Blake back, healthy with the club, played last night against New England. Again, we'll get to that here in a second. Do you need 4 goalies? No, you do not. So I'll be curious to see what the Union do with Holden Trent. What do they do with Richard Odata? Still not at the club. His loan has ended. And so, yeah, I'll be curious to see. I mean, Jim Curtin, last time that he was asked about Odata, said the club's going to do what's best for themselves, and they're also going to do what's best for Richard Odata. The Union could also put Isaiah LaFleur on the season-ending injury list, as he hasn't featured at all because he tore his ACL. So the Union have ways to work around this roster to try to open up some spots, but as things stand right now, they haven't done anything. Ernst Tanner did say in his press release that Sam is eligible to play for the Union effective immediately. Will he make it his debut against Nashville over the weekend on Saturday? We shall see, but that is the latest bit of news involving the Philadelphia Union. They have brought in 1 player. There's supposed to be potentially 2 more players coming into the club, and we'll see exactly what kind of players they are, who they are. Are they international players or are they not? But without anything else involving Sam, let's go ahead and talk about last night's game. The Union win 5-1. And again, I've got to start with Tai Baribo, because of course we're going to talk about Cavan Sullivan on this podcast. No, I'm not going to play any sound bites from Cavan. You guys have probably heard them all by now. Cavan talked for about 7 minutes with the media after the game. So if you guys really want to hear Cavan Sullivan talk, just look it up on YouTube. It's there. Cavan gave a ton of interviews on Thursday. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you guys to hear from Cavan Sullivan if you guys have not heard from him. So we're not going to play any Cavan clips. But Tai Baribo, his first MLS hat trick, and he told Sage Hurley after the game that it is actually his first ever career hat trick. His dad told him prior to the game that he was going to score a hat trick on the night, and he did wind up scoring a hat trick. And that's a huge moment for Tai Baribo. And Jim Curtin didn't even have to be asked about Ty's performance. Jim Curtin singled out Tai Baribo in his opening statement, and this is what he had to say.
Do have to single out, and you guys know I don't love to single out people, but the job that Tai Baribo has done for us in I'll just say situations where he could have, demanded to be traded, demanded to get out of here, whatever it might be, but he continued to work hard, and his work rate in tonight's game, not just the goals, but the work rate defensively was incredible. So really proud of him.
Yeah, Tai Baribo, excellent on the night. Of course, the headlines are going to be the hat trick that got Tai Baribo player of the match day, got him into best 11 squad, also featuring Kai Wagner and Jacob Glesnes. And what a great performance for all 3 of those players. Spoiler alert, all 3 of those players are in my best stars of the night, 3 best stars. We'll talk about them individually a little bit later. We're going to focus on Tai Baribo. But yeah, I mean, Jim Curtin, unprompted, asked wasn't even asked about Tai Baribo. Singles him out and talks about, wasn't getting opportunities. Could have asked to be traded, could have been asked to be sold, could have sulked, but you know what? Kept his head down, did his work. When Julian Kranzo was here, those opportunities were slim and none. And once given that opportunity, once Julian got sold, he's taken advantage of every single opportunity. He has 6 goals in 10 appearances so far this season, 6 goals in his last 6 games. And it's unbelievable. Unbelievable watching what this guy does off the ball. I asked him a couple games ago, your work rate's fantastic. And is that something you've always had in your game? And he said, yeah, absolutely. He prides himself on working hard off the ball, his stamina, his hustle. And you see that every single game. And questions are going to be asked 100%. Why wasn't Tai getting more playing time when Julian Kranzo was here? Those questions are going to be asked. Those questions guaranteed will be asked today when you guys are listening to this podcast on Friday in Jim Curtin's midweek press conference ahead of Nashville. I guarantee you people are going to ask that. If not, I'm going to ask Jim Curtin that. And I'm sure I'll play that clip in an article for you guys, in a match preview article. And just because it's a little bit late, I don't think I'm going to give you guys a match review article for New England. I apologize, but more of you guys listen to the podcast and you read my stuff, which is fine, but it's cool. It's cool giving you guys a whole bunch of different content. But what a performance by Tai Baribo. And yeah, it's a fair question. And Jim Curtin, he's a coach that if you're not working hard in training, it's going to be hard to get game time. It's going to be hard to get starts, to get opportunities off the bench. And Jim has said, when Mikel Uhre, when Julian Kranzo, they're going good, it was really hard to bring anybody else into the game, which is fair. Those two players were fantastic to watch together, but we're seeing something very, very special between Mikel and Tai Baribo. We saw Mikel and Tai combine for Tai's second goal, which was a counterattack goal. I think the best goal on the night. Again, we'll talk about that here in a little bit later, but it's fair. It is 100% fair why fans are upset with how Jim Curtin used Tai Baribo. And look, I was one of the people saying that, yeah, Tai's a bust because he's not getting game time. Jim Curtin's alluding that, he's got to be better. He's working hard, but it's not good enough in training. And finally, Tai Baribo takes advantage of an opportunity. And now Jim Curtin's publicly praising his work rate. And it's funny. It's funny how fast that turns. And maybe for some fans, that excuse of, not being great in training, not working hard enough in training, maybe that's not enough for fans. And we can't say Tai Baribo is a bust anymore. And you know who this works out for is Ernst Tanner. All these players we're saying are bust. All these players that we're saying aren't good players. Well, if they get opportunities like Tai Baribo, then I guess they work out, right? Tai Baribo has not looked back ever since he's been getting consistent starts now with the Union. He's rewarding not only himself, but his team. And he's rewarding Ernst Tanner and the trust that he had in him, bringing him to Philadelphia in the first place. And now Ernst Tanner looks like a genius, right? Saying, look, I told you guys, this guy is a good player. He's going to fit in well with his team once he's given an opportunity. And yeah, he's looked really, really good in every single start this season. And hopefully that continues. Hopefully it does. I don't see why it wouldn't. More on the offense, so here a little bit later. I want to focus on Kai Wagner, too. Had a great game. 2 assists, 3 if you count the hockey assist. He's the first defender in MLS history to register 30-plus assists in the last 3 seasons. He's been fantastic. And so Jim Curtin shared his praise for Kai Wagner and just how good of a attacking left back he is. But we've really seen him just defend so well this season. And this is what Jim had to say.
Yeah, look, for a left back to contribute as much as he does on the offensive side is impressive. You know, we all know about his service off of dead balls, right? But now, you know, when he has a striker that moved like Tai did tonight, he can pick them out, you know, and he did a really good job of that. Also picked out Jacob pretty good on one of the free kicks as well. So Kai's service is really dangerous, and it's great for not only a top defensive left back, also to contribute with the amount of assists he does in getting forward. He's one of our best, chance creators, probably our best chance creator when Jack McGlynn's not on the field.
Yeah, and it is a debate, right? Who's the better chance creator, Kai Wagner or Jack McGlynn? And that was my concern, is how much are the Union going to struggle on the left side of the field with no Jack McGlynn? Of course, you're going to get serviced by Kai Wagner, but teams theoretically should double team him. They should mark Kai tight on that side. But we saw him get assists on set pieces. 2 set pieces, if I'm not mistaken, right? The corner kick, which, by the way, I think Apple is going to get Blunder of the Week, but it's not the end of the week yet. So there's still possibilities. There's still nominations that can be sent in, and I will carefully go ahead and look at those. But since there's only one person on the committee, whatever I say goes, right? But if you have suggestions for Blunder of the Week, feel free to send them in to me by Sunday, and I'll look at them. But Apple TV missed the Jacob Glesnes goal because they thought it was important to show Olivier Bizot having a shot saved. We had to see that replay like 7 times. I feel like they were trolling me. You guys know how I feel about Olivier Bizot. And here's a potential opportunity for him to put the ball in the back of the net. And we get like 7 replays. Apple just had to do that to me. They've seen me talk about this guy on social media, say, yeah, it's not a good movement by him. Olivier got beat, I think, prior to that play on the right touchline. Got beat really bad. And then Apple has to show you every single angle of this shot on goal for Olivier Bizot. And they missed the Jacob Glesnes goal. So as things stand, Apple, you're in the running for Blunder of the Week. But if you guys have any better nominations, send them my way. And so Kai Wagner's delivery on that goal, his delivery on the first set piece to Jack Elliott into Tai Baribo. And then we also saw Kai Wagner into Tai Baribo. So 3 assists on the night. But look, the point I was making before I go on that little rant is teams should theoretically be double teaming Kai Wagner. But when you give Union dead ball situations, he's one of the best, and he made New England pay on 2 of them in this game. First offender to register 30-plus assists, like I said, in the last 3 seasons. If you don't count the hockey assists, he has 22 regular season assists the last 3 years. Has 7 won the year. And he's great. He really is great offensively. We've all known that. But he had a hell of a game defensively. I think that's back-to-back games, actually, that Kai's been really, really good shutting down the wingers for the opposition the last 2 games. I know that New England were missing like 20,000 different players in this game. They weren't great defensively at all, and I don't want to take away anything from the Union offensively, but New England defensively, really bad. Arriaga, the center back, one of their 3 center backs that they played with in the game, that's probably going to get him benched, I feel like. I mean, the amount of times that he lost his players, whether it be on set pieces, whether it be Mikhail Ua in a 1v1 situation where the Union hit on the counterattack. He lost Tai Baribo on his hat-trick goal. I mean, it was a horrible night, and credit to the Union for taking advantage of a weak spot in the back line for New England. Credit has to be given to the Union for being aware, okay, where's the weak player on this team? It's definitely Arriaga. Let's continue to go at him. And the Union did. The Union did not stop attacking him all night long. But getting back to the point of Kai Wagner, a great game offensively, a great game defensively. And I mean, honestly, like, where would the Union be without Kai Wagner these last couple of years? And I know you can say that for Jose Martinez. You can say that for Andre Blake for sure. We'll get to that a little bit more later. You can say that about Julian Kranza, Daniel Gosling. I mean, you can insert so many players the last couple of years. Where would the Union be without X? But I put Kai Wagner up there with the best ever Philadelphia Union player. I think on Jillian and Kyle Omni's show in January, I think we did a list of 10 best Union players of all time. And if I'm not mistaken, Kai Wagner was number one on my list. I'll have to go back and listen to that. I'm sure Kyle or Jillian will correct me after the show and say, no, you didn't have Kai Wagner though. You had, I don't even know who I would have. I'm curious. I'm probably going to look at my notes because I definitely did notes for that show. But Kai Wagner is definitely a top 3 Union player all time. I don't think there's any debating that from you guys. And he continues to show it week in, week out. Like I said, the first win for the Union since May 18th, also against the Revs. The Union break a 10-game winless streak, which was the longest in club history. I don't think that streak's ever going to be broken. I mean, that's a horrible run of form that the Union had been on. First home win since March 30th against Minnesota United. Jose Martinez. Yeah, let's single out Jose. I think, there was one moment in this game, and he was close. He was close to getting in my 3 stars of the night, but he had that one moment where he didn't shut down Harks. He gave him too much time, too much space to get that shot off. Fantastic finish. Nothing Andre Blake could have done, but that's one of those situations where Jose Martinez, yeah, you got to shut that down quicker. And we've seen moments like that this season where he's had a little bit of defensive lapses, giving the ball away poorly, not shutting down space quick enough. And yeah, that's exactly what happened on that goal. But other than that, I mean, he was fantastic. 2 interceptions on the night, 1 out of 3 tackles won, 8 ball recoveries, was dribbled by 2 times, got beat on the twice actually. Got beat twice on the goal. Got beat on the left sideline and then didn't close down Harks quick enough on the goal that New England scored. But I thought he brought great energy. His passing. There was a pass in like the 20th, 21st minute where he just sprayed a beautiful cross the field pass. And Jim Curtin said it during the midweek press conference leading up to this game that when he's on his game, there's nobody else that can play as good of a pass as he can. 6 out of 7 accurate long balls. And we saw it on the night. I mean, the passes this guy was pulling off, unbelievable. And so I thought Jose brought an energy that was lacking for this club, just like Andre Blake. I mean, you get both of these players back that have been missing for quite some time. Jose, obviously, with Venezuela at Copa America. Andre Blake out with that knee injury for the last 14 games. And getting both of those guys back, that was huge. And so, again, we'll talk about Andre Blake here in a little bit later. I do want to throw Alejandro Bedoya in that mix as well. But overall, just a really, really satisfying match for the Union. We'll go ahead and talk about that offense once again. I think that's okay with you guys. It's the first 5-goal game from the Union this season. And you got to go all the way back to September of 2022 against Orlando City as the last time that the Union scored 5 goals in a game. The Union won that game 5-1. They had 19 shots this game, 8 on target. So 50% of your shots go on target. You score 5 goals. 5 of 8 of your shots are on target. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's really, really hard to do. Do the math real quick. That comes out to be 62% of your shots that were on target wind up going in the back of the net, which isn't great goalkeeping by New England, but it's also a credit to you how clinical you were. And I asked Jim Curtin about that leading up to this game where the Union only had 4 games where they've had multiple goal leads. Minnesota, Portland, New England, Chicago. Obviously, they blow the lead against Chicago, lose that game, have a record of 3-1-0 this season when they go up by multiple goals. And I asked Jim Curtin, what's up with that? Because if you look at the data, if you look at the history, the Union last year scored a ton of multi-goal games. There were also a lot of games where the Union were winning by 1 goal, but a lot of multi-goal wins. And so this is what Jim Curtin had to say, what's the blame for that? How do you fix that? And does he agree with my assessment?
Yeah, look, I think you guys remember the plays in the first half, right? A lot of little 3v2s, 2v1s, where the weight of our final pass, goes to more towards the sidelines when it just needs to be in front of a guy. Sometimes we're passing when we should shoot. We're shooting when we should pass. And the decision-making hasn't been sharp enough to have that killer instinct that you talk about. Again, I worry most, though, when we're not creating chances. We still have scored enough goals this year. I've said it to you guys. I think we've scored up towards the top in the league. At one point, we were top in the league in goals on the road scored. So that's not our problem. It's keeping the ball out of the back of the net, and hopefully tomorrow with a good team effort, yes, we can keep it. It starts with keeping a 0, and then 1 goal is enough. I hear you, though, that second goal sometimes can be the best defense. The third one would be great, too. But it starts with defending well, keeping a clean sheet, and I think then the results will take care of themselves.
And Jim's not wrong, and I'm glad that he brought up at one point having the most goals on the road, because I saw this stat a couple of days ago, which maybe I shouldn't be surprised because the Union, yes, we said it at the beginning of the podcast. You guys all know it. The Union have more wins on the road, 3, but they did. They have 24 goals on the road this season, which is the second most, only 1 behind the Columbus Crew. They're scoring a ton of goals on the road, but they found so many ways this season to lose games. And Jim says, if we clean up things defensively, then having those multiple goal leads isn't going to matter. Those 1-0 wins are going to be enough, which he's not wrong. But what I would argue, and again, he'd probably argue back to me and saying, we haven't had Andre Blake. We haven't had our center backs playing at top forms because of injuries, whether it be because of international breaks. We haven't had Jose Martinez here for parts of the season, so we're missing a lot of key players. He would say that 100% to me for the reason why they haven't got a lot of 1-0, 2-0 clean sheets, kept more clean sheets, only conceded 1 goal. But I would argue the Union are different this year defensively. And we've seen Jack Elliott have great games. He had a great game against New England. Jacob Glesnes had a great game against New England. But there's been a lot of times this season when they're getting beat 1v1. And Jim, again, would argue and say, well, those guys are playing more conservative than what they would typically play if Andre Blake was in net, which is fair. I totally get that. But at the same time, that doesn't excuse you for getting beat 1v1 defensively. It doesn't excuse you for silly mistakes passing out of the back. And so I would argue that the Union aren't the same defensive team that they've been in year priors. And yeah, you guys are like, well, duh, look at all the goals that they've conceded. Yes, exactly. Look at all the goals that they've conceded. They've conceded 42 goals this season. They've scored 42. They've conceded 42. Union are up there with one of the highest scoring teams, not only on the road, but just overall. 42 goals. The only teams in the Eastern Conference that lead them are Inter Miami, 54, Columbus Crew, 46, Cincinnati, 43, Union there at 42. In the West, Real Salt Lake, 49, Portland, 48, LAFC, 45, LA Galaxy, 47, Rapids, 47. And so not many teams are ahead of the Union. The Union are right in there with some of the top teams, and they sit in 14th place, which is crazy in the Eastern Conference. But I think it goes back to my point I made last episode. I don't think the Union are as bad as the record says they are. But unfortunately, your record is what your record is. A lot of careless mistakes, a lot of silly mistakes that the Union have had. And that 10 games without our win is rough. It's rough to look at on the stat sheets. And again, I don't think that's a stat that's ever going to be broken again by the Union. It's a very, very long time to not get a win. 10 straight games, 1 win in your last 17 coming into this game. Is this going to be the game that turns the season around for the Union? I don't know. Do the Union get into the playoffs? Well, if they play like that, then yeah, of course. But I'm not going to get too excited over one game. I'm not going to blow blow everything up after this one game against a team that was missing multiple key players. We'll see what happens. And even against Nashville, if the Union win two straight, Nashville's not a good team. And so I'm not going to put a lot of stock into what happens against Nashville either. And then after Nashville, it's obviously Leagues Cup, and we'll see what happens with the Union in Leagues Cup. I mean, if they want to get in CONCACAF Champions Cup next season, Leagues Cup's probably going to be the best opportunity for that. So I'll be curious to see how serious the Union take that. But finish strong here on Saturday against Nashville. Take care of business. You're going to feel good on a 2-game winning streak heading into Leagues Cup, and anything can happen. I mean, you're chasing a lot of teams. Of course, you need a lot of things to happen, but at the same time, too, take care of your business, and everything else is going to take care of itself, I believe. 15 set piece goals now for the Union on the year. They got 2 in this game, like we mentioned. That's back-to-back goals now for the Union off of set pieces. They scored 1 against Toronto. They scored 1 or 2 against New England, and you'd love to see it. I mean, the Union are so dangerous on set pieces this season. Cavan Sullivan, I think we'll go ahead and talk about again. I don't know how much I really want to talk about Cavan Sullivan, just because that's all we're seeing on social media. I mean, you guys saw the camera crews following Cavan around, and everybody knew there was a strong possibility that he's going to make his debut. I'll be curious to see, are all those cameras at the game this weekend against Nashville? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. You know, some people are going to be saying, oh, Cavan needs to start now because of that debut. Like, let's relax. He only played 8 minutes. He had 5 touches, 3 out of 3 passes completed, 1 shot on target. I mean, it's a flawless debut. Did nothing wrong. Give him man of the match. And everybody should be happy about this kid. He's a special talent. Like I said, I mean, the youngest player to debut in MLS, and actually not even MLS, just all sports in America at the age of 14 years, 293 days. A couple quick takeaways. Yes, we've seen him with the MLS Next Pro side, Union 2. Really, really good dribbling ability. Taking players on 1v1. The one thing that surprised me about Cavan is, yes, he's always had a good left foot. Yes, he's had a good dribbling ability. But the one thing I noticed in 8 minutes is his awareness just to find space without the ball. Just finding the areas on the field where, yeah, let me go ahead and drift in there, take advantage of this missed opportunity defensively by New England. And there was a play, too, where he gets knocked off the ball, gets right back up, and then he goes and attacks his space, pulls the defender out of that space. Daniel Gazlag runs into it, and it's a bad pass by Jesus Bueno. But it's just little moments like that by a 14-year-old. I mean, the soccer IQ on this kid's ridiculous. And Jim Curtin, after the game, called him a special talent. And that sums it up perfectly. I mean, people are calling him a wonder kid. People are calling him the American Messi. I mean, you hear all these terms. And again, I don't want to hype this kid up. I mean, there's already so much pressure on this kid. So me hyping him up's not going to make any difference. But to see him go in and take the moment. And of course, you know, it helps that the Union are up by 4 goals, and it's not like you're chasing the game. It's a perfect opportunity to make your debut, get to go on the field and, you know, play with your brother who scored a fantastic goal. A fantastic goal. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that Ivicic, the goalkeeper for New England, could have done. I mean, terrible defending once again by New England. They gave Quinn just way too much time and space. Takes a touch, lifts his head, picks his corner. It's great accuracy, great pace on the shot. Goes over and celebrates with Cavan. It's a big moment right there for the Sullivan family. And then, obviously, you see Cavan come on right after Quinn scores a banger of a goal. And you heard Jim Curtin say, you know, now go and do what your brother Quinn just did and score a goal. And Jim said, no, I'm kidding. Just go up there, play your game. You're going to go and play with your brother. And it's a big moment. It's a big moment in Philadelphia sports history. It's a big moment in American sports history to see a player at 14 years old making the professional debut. 14 years old. What were you guys doing at 14? I mean, I think about myself, I'm playing a lot of RuneScape, I'm playing a lot of game battles, playing a lot of competitive Call of Duty, going outside, playing Manhunt, going out playing football, baseball, whatever I can do. I'm definitely not playing professionally like Cavan Sullivan is, but yeah, I mean, this kid's different. And there's no surprise why Manchester City wanted him. There's no surprise why top clubs in the world wanted him. And enjoy him. Enjoy him while you have him. Of course, it's just one moment, and there's gonna be rough moments, I'm sure, for Cavan, but it was a flawless debut and a lot to like in 8 minutes, and really, really happy for the kid. I'm sure if the Union are ahead against Nashville, I'm sure we'll see him on the bench once again. I'm sure we'll see him come off the bench, and it's a big moment for him. It's a big moment for his family. It's a big moment for the club. It's a big moment for MLS in general, and really, really, really solid debut for Cavan Sullivan. It's pretty much all I have. I mean, I don't want to bore you guys with a Cavan talk. I mean, I'm sure you guys have already listened to podcasts talking about Cavan Sullivan, right? You guys probably came from listening to people breaking down every little movement, every little touch, which I tried to do in the goals breakdown video. Not gonna lie. But you gotta take advantage of moments like that. You gotta try to get as much engagement as you can. And so maybe with saying that, maybe I should name this episode title Cavan Sullivan something. Maybe I should spend more time talking about Cavan Sullivan, because maybe that's why some of you guys are here on this podcast wanting to hear what I have to say about Cavan. Well, that's not going to be the show for you guys. Sorry. Tune into another show. The last thing I want to talk about without going into 3 stars is the leadership of Alejandro Bedoya and Andre Blake. It's the first game since April 27th, the RSL game, that both players have been on the field at the same time. Jose Nunez asked Jim Curtin after the game, their leadership ability. What's that mean for the squad? What's that mean for this team? And this is what Jim had to say.
Look, I know you guys are sick of me saying it about Andre, but he is the equivalent of a Bouanga or the top players on other teams, a Mukhtar, who we're going to see here in a couple days. But because he plays goalkeeper, we just go, that position, they get to use their hands, it's different. It's like, no, he is a superstar, and to have him back after missing him for so long, our point total will only go up when he's on the field. You know how special he is. Again, the plays where you don't remember them, but he comes out on corners and just kind of calmly catches balls, and it leads to transitions for us instead of us having to fight for those balls. And it's not just our goalkeepers; it's just they're not Andre, and that's the reality of life. He's one of the best players in the league, not best goalkeepers in the league. Best players in the league, and I think that position gets neglected. I say it all the time. It's worth 15 points every year. Good goalkeeping. So we're lucky to have him back, and it's not going to be perfect the rest of the way, guys. This is one win. I don't get ahead of myself, but we're still good when the group is together and plays like that.
Thank you. And I'm glad Jim Curtin said that. It's just one win. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're not going to say, oh, the world's ending. We're back. It's one win. Slow down. There's still going to be moments where the Union make mistakes, where things aren't pretty. There's still fans that are pissed, that are still going to protest, which is the right. There's still going to be fans that want Jay Sugarman to sell the club, which, those fans are free to do whatever they want. They pay their hard-earned money for season tickets, for game day tickets. They spend their time and their energy going to games. Fans can do whatever they want as long as it's not violent. And I'm sure we're going to see continued protest. Whether or not it's multiple wins in a row that the Union make it, if they win against Nashville on Saturday, fans are still going to be upset. And I don't blame them. I don't blame that at all. And you look around the league watching teams just continue to make signings. And yes, the Union have made one signing so far, and fans are going to want more. And one win doesn't erase the bad moments. And I get that. Fans get that. Jim Curtin gets that. And that's why he's saying, we're not going to buy into this one win too much. We're not saying that everything's fixed. We're going to go and win the rest of our games this season, and we're going to go ahead and win MLS Cup. I mean, That would be a great story, right? That the Union finally get players back healthy. And as rough as it looked there the last 2 months, look at this crazy run that the Union have went on. Nobody else in MLS history has done it. That would be fantastic. That would be a great story. You throw in Cavan Sullivan scoring a game-winning goal in MLS Cup, and yeah, I don't think the league's ready for that. Cavan Sullivan versus Inter Miami for the Eastern Conference Final. It'd be a great storyline, right? I feel like I'm one of those script writers for WWE right now, just writing the script, giving MLS ideas for the rest of the season. Because you guys know, right, that MLS is totally fixed. That it was fixed last night that the Union would score 5 goals, that Cavan Sullivan would come on, get a shot on target, he would come on and have a flawless debut. You guys do realize that was all scripted. I saw the script before the match. It got sent to me. Everything's fake. Everything you see, it was fake for the Union to lose in penalties against LAFC. It was scripted that game was going to be so chaotic. None of this stuff's real. And so I'm just giving the script writers ideas for what the best storyline is going to be in the playoffs for the Eastern Conference Final. It would be great if the Union went on a crazy run like that, but I don't see it happening. And I would love for it to happen, but I do think last night's win, Andre Blake and Alejandro Bedoya play a big part in that. And there's a reason why Jose asked that question. Because the leadership ability that these guys bring. I mean, they've been through some really, really, really tough times with the club. But their voices, and this is no offense to Jacob Glesnes or anybody else who wears the captain's armband when Bedoya and Blake aren't available. It's just these players are used to having those players on the field with them game in, game out. They're used to looking behind and seeing Andre Blake in net, knowing that he's going to bail them out. They're used to seeing Alejandro Bedoya getting in referees' faces and sticking up for them, letting the referee know how he feels. And just bringing their calm voices, their presence goes a long way. Jim Curtin was talking about, having Jose Martinez back, having Andre Blake back. It just felt different around Subaru Park. That it was just a sense of everything just feeling normal. And this team, yeah, they do need more players in. They need more reinforcements in. Because it's the same team the last 3-4 seasons. But at the same time, they know each other. And when you're missing 2 key players, 2 key leaders like Alejandro Bedoya, Andre Blake for multiple games in the season, it's tough. It is tough to close out some of those games. It is tough to stay calm after you concede a goal. I mean, look, the Union concede a goal to New England, and they go right back down and score a goal. Tai Baribo's hat trick. And I think a big part of that is just Andre Blake and Alejandro Bedoya keeping this team calm. And so again, I don't put too much stock into this win. I'm not going to put too much stock in the win if the Union beat Nashville over the weekend. But I think it is exactly how the Union need to leave this part of the MLS season. Going out with 2 wins, you go into Leagues Cup, maybe you get momentum, maybe you go on a deep run once again, and then you come out and you take care of your remaining, 9, 10 games, something like that on the season, and you see what happens. You see if that's enough to get you into a playoff spot. And hopefully you guys feel the same way. Hopefully you guys aren't buying into, the Union are totally back after a 5-1 win against a terrible New England Revolution team. But 3 stars, I mean, I told you guys already in the show. Number 3, Jacob Glesnes, 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 block, 5 ball recoveries. Kai Wagner, 2 assists, 4 chances created, 53 out of 56 passes completed, which, by the way, do you guys realize how hard that is to complete over 95% of your passes? Especially a player like Kai Wagner who plays more forward than he does playing side to side or backwards. It's really, really good Kai offensively. And especially, you look, he's taking corner kicks and completing passes on the corner kicks. That's really hard to do. And so that tells you how deadly Kai is on dead ball situations. 2 out of 3 tackles won, 1 interception, 4 ball recoveries. And then Tai Baribo, 3 goals, 4 shots on target, by the way. And his work rate, excellent night by Tai Baribo. But you can surely give the whole team a star. A lot of great performances, really good stuff by the Union, and hopefully they can carry that momentum with them on Saturday and come away with a victory against Nashville. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. Go ahead and check out the Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, looking forward to the game Saturday, being back at Subaru Park. Looking forward to seeing you guys once again. Hopefully back with a live show. I know Jose Nunez said he won't be at the stadium, but we talked about it. We're going to do a live show. I'll be at the stadium. Jose will be at home. We're going to give you guys a live show because apparently a lot of you guys hit up Jose, whether it be online or at the stadium, like, yo, you guys doing a show after the game? Why aren't you guys live? And you guys missed that apparently. So we'll be back live on the AAT Sports YouTube channel and Facebook. I believe it's live on as well. No more Twitter. Maybe they changed it, but Facebook, YouTube, AAT Sports. I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can go ahead and check that out. And you guys have been very kind to us in your words that you've given us since we've started being consistent with that live show. So I'm appreciative of you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you guys for constantly checking out our work and supporting us. So with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.